Well friends, welcome back. It is the third week of February and I am gearing up to start all of my gardening here in Zone 7B nowadays. And I want to show you the seeds that I've already started indoors and inside my greenhouse and what I'm planning to do in the next week or so that you can get started on your planting as well. So I have this greenhouse that I purchased last year and I have been working on it a little bit here and there, and I have a heater in it so it keeps it just above freezing. It stays just above freezing here, but one night a few weeks ago I got down to like 12 degrees and the heater failed, so I lost a few of the plants that were in here. But let me show you what's inside right now. Since I lost a lot of my tropical plants, I decided to change gears in the greenhouse and just put in my cool weather crops in here in the middle of February to see if I can get them to grow. And sure enough, they are growing, but I think we're also missing some sunlight. The plants do need a lot of sunlight in order to grow. It's just not warmth that they need. They also need light. But that's okay because we're getting plenty of sunlight right now to get started, and I just want to have a jump start on the season. Usually I used to garden in my other greenhouse that I have, and in the other greenhouse that I have I don't heat it up, but that one gave me maybe 3 weeks of a head start, and this one is going to give me about 6 to 7 weeks of a jump start. Let me show you how the vegetables are doing in here. So my idea for this greenhouse has evolved a little bit. I had a bunch of tropical plants in here that died during the winter because the heater that I had in here failed. So then I decided to change gears and start cropping foods in here that will produce food because of the extra warmth. These are cool weather crops. So let me show you the cool weather crops that I have in here. The goal is to get them to maturity, and maybe in the middle of March I'll take them from my greenhouse and I'll put them just directly outside of the greenhouse. And since I've given them that 4-week start, maybe they'll be able to crop just a bit sooner than they would, and that will make space in here for planting tomatoes and peppers maybe in middle of March. That's crazy thinking right there, but that is what I'm hoping to experiment with and see what happens. I am thinking it will work because I am keeping a lot of things alive in here, and I do heat up the greenhouse to about 45 degrees. I raised it because I used to keep it at 40 degrees and that didn't give me enough room for error, and that's how I lost a few of my beautiful tropical plants. But some of them are coming back from the roots, so not everything is lost. I know the bananas are still alive, the guava is still alive, the mango is still alive, and the dragon fruit, half of it is still alive. So not everything was lost, and the crazy thing is that I noticed that the lemon tree did not die and this loquat tree did not die. So what that tells me is that I can probably grow lemons and other hardy citrus inside one of these greenhouses, like this polycarbonate greenhouses, without heating it too much, which is quite cool because I want to get more citrus into this greenhouse for this upcoming year. So here are the pots that I have in here. These have spinach in them, I have green onions, I have some parsley in this one, I have spinach and onions in this one, and if you see here, this little oregano started growing on its own and it's growing quite fast. It grew from a seed that got into the pot somehow. I have more oregano like that outdoors, so that's how it got in there. So check it out. I have a bunch of different things in here, and hopefully in a few days when the weather gets warmer and we get more longer days of sunlight, obviously, we will have more growth in here. But my goal is to grow more strawberries this year because we eat a lot of strawberries in my house, so I need to grow more strawberries. And you can see they are starting to push new growth. The ones that I have outdoors, these came from outdoors. I dug them out and I put them in the pots, and they are pushing new growth, so I'm hoping to get strawberries in here soon. I also have a tray here where I started these indoors in my heat mat, and once they sprouted I brought them out here, and you can see they have a little bit of growth on them, and they were getting leggy because the lights were a little too far off. I brought it down, but then when I brought them outside they started to put on new growth, and they're putting out new true leaves here, which is nice. And I have my baby rhubarb here. I planted from seed. I also have some jalapenos in here. I'm trying to sprout them here to see if they grow. And then I have some bulbing onions. These are white onions. And just the other day, I decided to try this in here. And I planted some cool weather crops in here. Spinach, lettuce, beets. And I also have some tomatoes in here. So we'll see if these sprout. During the daytime, it can get pretty hot in here. If it is sunny and the sky is clear, it can get in the high 80s in here. So I have to come into this greenhouse and open the vents, open the door, because it gets too hot. And in the nighttime, it will be just about the same temperature that it is outside in here. But since I have the heater, I can heat it up to about 45 degrees. And in the coldest spots, it gets down to like 30, 38, 36. So that's all right. I'm not trying to grow super tropical things anymore in here because I don't want to lose them. And the better thing to do is to try to grow some crops in here that would typically do just fine outside of the greenhouse, but just by giving them the protection, they're going to produce even faster. So if I'm not mistaken, the greenhouse is 9 feet, almost 10 feet wide, and just about as long, 10 feet long. So you can see here, I built it so that it's raised above the grade, and when you walk in here, it dips into it. And I did that because I wanted enough height in here, so I actually can stand here, and I can, if I get on my tippy toes, I can touch the ridge pole. And I'm about 5'8", so it's a pretty good height in here. I didn't want to be too closed in and claustrophobic. This was the biggest one I can get for under $1,000, so that's why I bought this one, and it's pretty nice. The one thing I do not like about it is that the door does not have a way to close. So I have jerry rigged a little thing at the bottom there. I drew 2 holes at the bottom and I put a wire, and that's how I close it up, because otherwise it flaps a little bit. And I use this bag of leaves to keep it against the door. I think in the future I want to put in an actual storm door in here so I can open and close it much easier. So there's more upgrades to come for this greenhouse. If you are interested in buying this greenhouse, I'm going to put a link in the description below. Maybe you can purchase it and see if you want to buy it. Right now I think it's on sale for about 750 bucks on Amazon, so it's not a bad deal. And that is shipped to your house instead of you having to pick it up, which is a good deal. It's not very hard to build. If you build IKEA things before, it's not too hard to build. You put them together, and it took me like 2-3 weeks because I was taking it quite slow in building it. But if I got down to it with a friend, if I had to do it again, I could probably do it in 2 days, no problem. It comes with 4 sticks that are about 24 inches deep that you put into each corner, and that's how it stays down. And people say that these things fly in the wind. I mean, I think it would fly in the wind, but I have it in a spot, and I specifically chose this spot because it's kind of shelter from high winds. So that's the good thing about this greenhouse. The rest of the garden right now is barely waking up. I saw a bit of my Chinese chives. They're starting to pop up a little bit, and the garlic over here that I have over here is turning more green, so I know that it is actively growing now. And I have been cleaning my raised beds. I had a lot of compost in the fall. I took all of my debris, all the dead plants, and I threw them on top of these raised beds here. But now they've had time to decompose a little bit, and now I put them inside compost piles. So I have a few compost piles that I have working right now, and that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm cleaning the raised beds so that I can put my plants right into that as soon as the time comes. My wife has plans for the front yard this year. She wants to start a cut flower business, so I'm gonna probably give the front lawn to her so she can do her own gardening at the front, and I'm gonna stay in the backyard this year. And one cool thing about this year is that I'm gonna be gardening my neighbor's yard this year. Last year I helped her set up that big raised bed, but this year she gave it to me so that I can farm it. So I'm gonna be able to farm her yard. I'm gonna take it slow because I have I'm going to be pretty busy this summer. My wife and I are expecting, and we are due in about a month. So I know I'm going to be pretty busy with the new baby. So wish us luck, and we're happy to welcome a new baby girl, hopefully in about a month. One of the things that I really want to focus on this year is creating a lot of warm compost, and I'm building warm compost towers. I have some here, and let me show you what I'm doing with that. So I have heard that compost tea is the best thing that you can do for your plants. So I'm hoping to produce more warm castings this year. So I have 2 5-gallon buckets in here, and I am feeding them all sorts of compost that is coming out of the yard. I took all these worms from my compost piles, and they are the red wiggler worms. They're not your standard worms that are in your soil. These are actually composting worms. So I've been composting with them for years. So now I just want to figure out a better way to harvest the castings. So let me see if I can find a few of them here. Yeah, there we go. Here they are. These are all red wigglers, and these are composting worms. The other ones, the earthworms, also do a good job, but these are just better at composting. So I'm not sure if I'm going to start making tea this year, but at least I'll be able to use the liquid fertilizer that falls at the bottom of that 5-gallon barrel and then use that around. But what I'm trying to harvest is the castings so that I can put that on top of my raised beds and everything else. The compost pile does really well and it's easy to do, but I want something that is more active, and I want to have more kind of livestock animals. And worms are just good at breaking down things that you're not going to eat yourself, and then you can turn it into good rich compost and castings. I know there's animals that can do a lot more, like chickens and rabbits, but I am just not ready to commit to those animals just yet. So in the future, maybe I'll get some of that, but not yet. And this year, I want to focus on making the garden real easy because I'm going to be busy. So I'm also trying to build some self-watering 5-gallon buckets, and I've been watching this gentleman on YouTube, and he has a really nice setup. So I'll have to figure out how to make those. I have a ton of 5-gallon buckets. I have an abundance of 5-gallon buckets, so I need to find a better way to use them. And if I don't have to water them as often, which is usually the problem, if you have 5-gallon buckets and you use them just like as is, they are really hard to keep watered, and I want to have a system that is easy to maintain. So hopefully I can use those 5-gallon buckets in a wiser manner so that I can make my life a little bit easier. This is a makeshift greenhouse that I have here. I have a small planter here, and then I have some pots inside of here that I'm trying to jumpstart. You see I have some mint in here, and this other one also has mint, and very soon I'm going to be planting some onions and other things in here because this is my herb garden. So I want to make sure that I'm producing a lot of herbs right here because I want to make sure I have my herbs near to my kitchen. And I do have some animals in the farm. These right here are quail, and they produce a little egg. They lay eggs every single day, and you need about 4 or 5 of their eggs to make the equivalent of 1 chicken egg. The quail are really good at making eggs. I am collecting about 10 eggs a day right now, so that's about 2 chicken eggs per day, and they don't eat that much. They're very easy to feed, very easy to keep. They're quiet, they don't make a lot of noise, and they're not a regulated species in most areas, unlike chickens. So if you can't have chickens, maybe you can have quail. So the garden is doing quite well already, even though it is just February, but it's gonna start picking up soon, and I'm excited about this year. I think I'm going to do less plants this year than I've done before, but I'm just going to focus on things that we love to eat at our house. I'm not going to be experimenting too much with too many different things this year, and I mean, that's saying a lot. Instead of 45 plants of tomatoes, I'll probably do 20 this year. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not going to quit gardening this year just because I'm going to be busy, but I'm trying to make my life a little bit easier. So in the comments down below, tell me how you keep your garden at a easy level? How do you keep it from taking over your life? Because I know it is hard right now to consolidate all the plants you want to plant with what you can actually plant into your garden. So how are you making those hard decisions? Let me know in the comments below, and tell me, what are you going to be planting this year and what are you not planting this year? Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you on the next one.